Have you ever stared at your phone, wondering what to text him, not just to get a reply, but to truly touch his heart? Because here's the truth, words are powerful. A single message sent at the right moment with the right intention can shift how a man feels about you deeply. Not because it's perfect, not because it's clever, but because it's real. Men don't fall in love through constant pressure or performance. They fall in love through moments, small emotional experiences where they feel seen, appreciated, and connected to you. And texting, when done right, becomes a bridge to those moments. So let's talk about 5 kinds of texts that don't just get his attention, they melt his heart. The first kind of text is simple but incredibly rare. It's appreciation. A message like, "Hey, I was just thinking about how much I appreciate the way you handled that situation yesterday. It meant a lot." Appreciation is one of the most powerful emotional experiences you can create for a man, yet it's often the most overlooked. When you send a text that genuinely acknowledges him, you're doing something far deeper than just being nice. You're meeting a core emotional need, the desire to feel seen, valued, and respected for who he is and what he does. Think about this for a moment. Most men move through their daily lives carrying responsibilities, solving problems, and trying to show up as someone dependable. But very rarely do they hear, "I noticed you," or "that meant something to me." Instead, what they often receive is silence when they do things right and criticism when they fall short. So when a woman takes a moment to send a thoughtful message of appreciation, it cuts through all of that noise in a way that feels incredibly personal. What makes appreciation so impactful is its specificity. It's not about sending a generic "you're amazing" text. That can feel nice, but it doesn't land as deeply. What truly melts his heart is when you point to something real. Maybe it's the way he handled a stressful situation, the effort he put into planning something, or even the way he made you feel safe and comfortable. When you highlight a specific action or quality, it shows that you're paying attention. It shows that you're emotionally present with him, not just going through the motions. There's also something important happening beneath the surface when you express appreciation. You're reinforcing the behaviors and qualities you admire. Without saying it directly, you're telling him, "This is who you are at your best, and I value that." And naturally, people move toward where they feel valued. He'll want to show up more in those ways, not because he feels obligated, but because it feels good to be recognized. Another layer to this is timing. Appreciation texts don't have to come immediately after something happens. In fact, sometimes they're even more powerful when they're unexpected. Imagine him going about his day, maybe feeling stressed or distracted, and then he gets a message from you saying you've been thinking about something he did and how much it meant. That moment becomes a pause in his day, a shift in his emotional state. Suddenly he feels lighter, more confident, more connected to you. And here's something subtle but important. True appreciation comes without an agenda. It's not playful warmth, is a unique kind of energy. It's light, effortless, and emotionally inviting. It's the kind of texting that makes a man pause his day, smile without realizing it, and feel an instant sense of connection with you. What makes this so powerful is that it doesn't come across as heavy or demanding. Instead, it creates a space where he feels good just interacting with you. When you send a playful, warm text, you're tapping into something deeper than just attraction. You're creating positive emotional associations. Over time, he begins to link you with feelings of ease, fun, and happiness. And naturally, people are drawn toward what feels good. This is how emotional momentum builds, not through pressure or intensity, but through consistent moments of light connection. The beauty of playful warmth is that it shows interest without feeling overwhelming. A message like, "I just saw something that reminded me of you, and now I can't stop smiling," carries a subtle emotional message. You're letting him know he's on your mind, but you're doing it in a way that feels natural and uplifting. There's no expectation attached to it, no hidden pressure, just a moment of shared energy. This kind of texting also brings out a different side of him. When the conversation feels light and playful, he's more likely to relax and be himself. He doesn't feel like he has to perform or say the perfect thing. Instead, he can engage with you in a way that feels spontaneous and real. And that's where connection deepens, not in overthinking, but in those effortless exchanges where both of you feel free to just enjoy each other. Another powerful aspect of playful warmth is that it introduces a sense of curiosity. You're not always being predictable or overly direct. Sometimes it's a teasing comment, a light joke, or a message that invites him to engage in a fun way. This keeps the interaction dynamic and interesting. It gives him a reason to lean in, to respond, and to continue the conversation because it feels alive. It's also important to understand that playful doesn't mean careless. There's still intention behind it. You're aware of how your words land, but you're choosing to express yourself in a encouragement has a quiet power to it. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it reaches a place in a man that very few things do. When you send a message that genuinely says, I believe in you, you're speaking directly to his sense of purpose, his identity, and his inner drive to succeed. And for many men, that kind of emotional support is rare. Most men grow up in environments where they are expected to handle things on their own. They're taught to be strong, to solve problems, to push through challenges without needing reassurance. Because of that, they don't always hear words of encouragement, especially not in a consistent or meaningful way. So when it comes from you, it doesn't just feel nice, it feels grounding. It feels like someone is standing beside him rather than watching from a distance. A simple text like, I know you've got a lot on your plate today, but I believe you'll handle it, does more than you might realize. It tells him that you see his effort. It tells him that you recognize the weight he's carrying. And most importantly, it tells him that you trust his ability to rise to the occasion. That kind of trust is incredibly empowering. What makes encouragement so impactful is that it strengthens his confidence without challenging his independence. You're not stepping in to fix anything for him. You're not telling him what to do. You're simply reminding him of who he already is at his best. And that creates a very different emotional experience. Instead of feeling managed or controlled, he feels supported and respected. There's also something deeply attractive about being the person who brings calm and reassurance into his world. Life can be demanding, unpredictable, and sometimes overwhelming. When your messages become a source of stability, something he can read and immediately feel a sense of clarity or relief, you naturally become someone he values having close to him. Encouragement also creates a sense of partnership, even in the early stages of connection. It sends the message that you're not just there for the fun, easy moments, but also present in a supportive way when things get real. And that balance is powerful. It shows emotional maturity. It shows depth. It shows that you're someone who can be both lighthearted and grounding at the same time. Timing plays an important role here as well. Encouraging texts are especially meaningful when you know he's about to face something challenging, a big meeting, a stressful day, an important decision. Reaching out in those moments shows attentiveness. It shows that you're tuned into what's happening in his life, not just your own interactions with him. Another important element is sincerity. Encouragement only works when it feels real. If vulnerability is often misunderstood. Many people think it means sharing everything, opening up completely, or expressing emotions in a way that feels overwhelming. But true vulnerability, especially in the context of attraction and connection, is much more refined than that. It's about honest, grounded openness. It's about letting someone see a real piece of you without losing your sense of self. When you send a vulnerable text, you're doing something powerful. You're stepping out from behind the usual layers of protection and saying, in a calm and confident way, this is how I genuinely feel. A message like, I really enjoy talking to you. It's become one of my favorite parts of the day. Might seem simple on the surface, but emotionally, it carries weight. It creates a moment of truth between you and him. What makes this so impactful is that it builds trust. Most people are used to interactions that stay on the surface, playful banter, casual conversations, and safe topics. But when you introduce a touch of vulnerability, you shift the dynamic. You're signaling that this connection has depth, that it's not just about passing time, but about something more meaningful. And that naturally invites him to step into a deeper level of engagement with you. There's also a certain courage in vulnerability that is incredibly attractive. You're not waiting for him to go first. You're not playing games or trying to maintain a perfect image. You're expressing yourself honestly, but in a way that feels emotionally balanced. That balance is key. It shows that you're open but not dependent, that you value the connection, but you're not losing yourself in it. Another important aspect of vulnerability is that it gives him permission to open up as well. When one person creates a safe emotional space, the other often follows. Your willingness to share something real makes it easier for him to lower his guard. And when that happens, the connection becomes more authentic, more relaxed, and more emotionally fulfilling for both of you. It's also worth noticing how vulnerability changes the tone of your communication. Instead of feeling transactional or routine, your messages begin to carry emotional significance. He doesn't just read your texts, he feels them. He pauses, he reflects, and he connects with what you're expressing. That emotional engagement is what turns simple conversations into meaningful moments. At the same time, vulnerability requires self-awareness. It's not about sending emotional messages in moments of anxiety or uncertainty, hoping for reassurance. That can create pressure and shift the dynamic in a way that feels heavy. Instead, it's about choosing to share from a place of calm clarity. You're not seeking validation, you're offering honesty. This distinction makes all the difference. When vulnerability comes from confidence, it feels inviting. When it comes from neediness, it can feel overwhelming. So the goal is to stay connected to yourself while you open up to him. You're sharing your experience, not handing over your emotional stability. Another powerful element of vulnerability is timing. It doesn't need to happen constantly. In fact, part of what makes it special is that it shows up in the right moments when the connection has enough foundation to hold it. A well-timed, sincere message can deepen the bond far more than frequent emotional expressions that lose their impact over time. There's also a subtle intimacy in letting someone know they matter to you in a real way. It doesn't have to be dramatic or intense. Even a small acknowledgement of how you feel can create a sense of closeness that builds over time. These moments stack, creating a deeper emotional connection that feels natural rather than forced. When vulnerability becomes part of your communication, it transforms the relationship from something surface level into something more meaningful. It allows both of you to be seen, not just for the roles you play, but for who you actually are. And in that space, connection stops being something you're trying to create and starts becoming something you both genuinely feel. Anticipation is one of the most powerful emotional forces in attraction, yet it's often used without intention or overlooked entirely. When you send a text that creates anticipation, you're not just communicating in the present moment, you're inviting him into a future experience with you. And that shift from no to what's coming is where excitement begins to build. A message like, "I'm really looking forward to seeing you. I have a feeling it's going to be fun," does something subtle but incredibly impactful. It plants a seed in his Suddenly, he's not just thinking about you as someone he talks to, he's imagining being with you, experiencing something enjoyable together. And the mind naturally starts to fill in the details. What will happen? How will it feel? What moments will you share? This process creates emotional investment. Instead of passively engaging, he begins to actively look forward to the next interaction. And when someone starts associating you with positive future experiences, their attraction deepens in a very organic way. What makes anticipation so effective is that it blends confidence with warmth. You're not asking, "Do you want to see me?" or waiting for reassurance. You're expressing genuine excitement about something that hasn't happened yet. That energy is attractive because it feels self-assured. It shows that you enjoy his presence and expect the time together to be good without needing him to validate it first. There's also a playful mystery built into anticipation. You're not laying everything out or over-explaining. You're hinting at something enjoyable without fully defining it. That leaves room for curiosity, which keeps his mind engaged. When people are curious, they lean in. They think about you more. They become more emotionally connected simply because their awe keeps returning to the idea of you. Another layer to this is emotional pacing. Anticipation helps maintain a sense of rhythm in the connection. Instead of everything happening all at once or conversations becoming repetitive, it creates a forward movement. There's always something to look toward, something that keeps the interaction feeling alive and evolving. It's also important to recognize how anticipation affects his emotional state. Life can become routine. Work, responsibilities, daily pressures. When your message introduces something to look forward to, it breaks that routine. It adds a spark to his day. Even if it's something small, like planning to meet or just continuing a conversation later, that sense of something good is coming can shift his mood in a meaningful way. Timing plays a key role here as well. Sending a message of anticipation when there's already a bit of connection established makes it land even stronger. It feels like a natural progression rather than something forced. And when it's aligned with real plans or genuine interest, it reinforces trust as well as excitement. There's also a difference between anticipation and pressure, and understanding that difference is essential. Anticipation invites, pressure demands. When you say, I'm excited to see you, you're sharing your feeling. When you say, you better make time for me, it can create tension. The goal is to keep the energy open and inviting so he feels drawn in rather than obligated. Another powerful aspect of anticipation is how it strengthens emotional memory. When you consistently create moments that he looks forward to, your presence becomes associated with positive expectation. Over time, he doesn't just enjoy being with you, he enjoys thinking about being with you. And that mental connection is what keeps attraction growing even when you're not physically together. Anticipation also reflects a certain mindset. It shows that you're someone who looks forward to experiences, who values connection, and who isn't afraid to express excitement. That kind of energy is contagious. It encourages him to match that enthusiasm, to invest more and to engage more fully. In the end, anticipation turns ordinary communication into something emotionally engaging. It keeps the connection dynamic, adds depth without heaviness, and builds a bridge between where you are now and where things could go next. And when a man starts to genuinely look forward to you, not just responding in the moment, but thinking ahead, that's when you know the connection is starting to take hold in a deeper way. So when you step back and look at all of this, it's not really about texting, it's about emotional connection. Each of these messages, appreciation, playful warmth, encouragement, vulnerability, and anticipation, they all tap into something deeper. They make him feel seen, uplifted, relaxed, trusted, and excited to be around you. And when a man consistently feels that in your presence something powerful happens, he starts to associate you with those emotions. That's what makes his heart melt. Not perfect words, not overthinking every message, just genuine intentional connection. The real shift happens when you stop asking, what should I text him? And start asking, how do I want him to feel when he hears from me? Because when your words come from that place, authentic, warm, and emotionally aware, they land differently. And here's the beautiful part, you don't have to force any of this. You don't have to become someone you're not. These messages work best when they're an extension of who you already are, just expressed a little more consciously. So trust your voice, trust your warmth, trust your ability to connect, because the right man won't just read your texts, he'll feel them. And when he feels them, he won't be able to ignore the way you've quietly, effortlessly created a space in his heart.